The Cubs failed to make an agreement before arbitration with Kyle Tucker, their new
Yes.
trade acquisition, the arguably a top five offensive player in the game. They were reportedly $2.5 million apart and could not come to an agreement. And they eventually did just before Cubs Con started, magically enough. But just before they actually had to go to arbitration, that's why I'm confused why this even became news, because they actually did come to
Right.
an agreement. But the idea that they let it become news is so stupid and just such a bad look. I mean, it's like trading for Tucker and then arguing over money is like you finally get the hottest chick to agree to go out on a date with you. And before you get to the restaurant, you're arguing over who's going to pay the bill. Like, like, what are you doing? Like, why would you do this? So it's just, in the end, it's not a big deal. It's just a bad look, especially when they keep bringing up money. And if a team like that with that much is arguing over 200 like $2.5 million, and they settled in the middle, of course. I
Right.
think the Cubs were offering 15 and he wanted 17.5 and they ended up at 16.25. It's so predictable, so easily avoidable, just a bad look. But beyond that, it's a harbinger that Kyle Tucker's here for 1 year. They are not signing him long term, no matter how great he is. They've already demonstrated in that relationship that they are going to be penny pinching, and why would he need to settle for anything besides the most money that someone's going to give him from here on out? So I think they've kind of guaranteed, they've put the writing on the wall that Kyle Tucker's here for 1 year. That's an interesting timeline in a lot of ways, because Jed Hoyer happens to be in the last year of his contract. He's on the hot seat. This could be the end of the Jed Hoyer era, which would be pretty amazing, because I don't know where they go from here, but this is a pivotal moment for the Cubs organization. In that regard, it seems like they need to go for it if they're going to have a top five player in all of baseball on their roster only for this year. They need to make it happen. Finally, they can't just win 83 games and finish 10 games out of first place again.
Right.
To that end, Jed Hoyer traded for yet another Houston Astro, Ryan Presley,
Astros.
their former closer, who was usurped by oh shit, I'm drawing a blank. Josh Hader, which led to kind of a down year for Presley. He struggled outside of the closer role.
Sounds
Not quite
familiar.
as not quite as effective. Um, in fact, he's 36 years old, still solid. I think he's got a 3.5 ERA last year. He did close out the 2022 World Series, so he's got potentially one of the best postseason records of any closer, not named Mario Rivera.
Nirvana?
Nirvana. Sorry, I told you I was going to be rusty, so get used to it.
Nariano Ravinardo Monaro.
So it's interesting that he's aging, but not aging rapidly, kind of on the downside. I've seen stats where his fastball has come down 1 mile per hour each of the last 3 years. Anecdotally, I can tell you in this year's wild card series, the Tigers lit him up for 3 runs over like 2/3 of an inning to win that wild card series. So Presley was a big part of why the Tigers actually beat the Astros. So there's some red flags there, but Cubs didn't have a real closer in the bullpen, so this is their answer to that. We will see if they add another Houston Astro former, as Alex Bregman is in the last big name free agent that hasn't been signed this offseason. The Cubs and my beloved Tigers are in the running for that. I basically split my time throughout the day listening to Detroit Sports Talk Radio and Chicago Sports Talk Radio, and the topic is the same. Alex Bregman. Bring us Alex Bregman. So I'll get to my thoughts on Bregman more in the Tigers segment. I'll break that down a little bit more, but I think it'd be hilarious if suddenly the Cubs have three former Astros in one off season. Not sure what that really says, but
What are your with the moves they've done so far, what's your thoughts on? I know this isn't the prediction show, but since
Mm.
Pacoda came out, I'd be interested to hear. What do you think? What would you project the Cubs to win this year? Just
I
off
have
the
not
cuff.
seen. Yeah, I haven't seen the Pagoda projections,
Yeah,
and I think I don't remember. I feel like we poo poo those quite a bit, but you seem to be fired up about them more than me, maybe. But with Kyle Tucker,
I do I love them because it's always. Although
it's
I
fun
will
to
say
look back.
I would say recently they've been pretty accurate, but
Mm.
there were some years early on where not so much. But they obviously have cleaned up the algorithms. So
I feel like the last 2 years, at least with the Cubs, I've predicted them to be an 84 win team, and they
yeah,
win 83 every year. So I've been pretty close on that. I feel like they might be a few wins higher than that. I would say maybe the high 80s, maybe 87. I think I think I've actually heard about this pagoda rating for for the Cubs, and it's actually higher than that, which I was surprised by. What is it actually?
90.9. So
0.5.
nine.
Oh,
So
okay.
basically 91 wins with a 86.4% chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I love to hear that. I don't see it without Bregman. Bregman would change that. I feel like they've taken a step forward in a way by swapping out Tucker and Cody Bellinger. They would have been far further ahead if they just held on to Bellinger, but they have told us over and over again they're going to reinvest that money that they saved with Bellinger, giving him away essentially. They paid for him to go away. Um, so yeah, I don't see a major. I mean, that's a 8-win jump over what they were last year.
Yeah.
Pagoda saying I don't see that. I see a couple wins at most. Of course, things, if things break right, you get 5 more wins and things look great. So I guess that's it. But yeah, I disagree. I'd go 87.
The craziest part about it is they have the Brewers only at 80 wins.
Well, again, the Brewers' black magic defies math. So, I mean, who predicted them to beat the Cubs by 10 games last year? Like nobody had them doing that. But they always do it. So, we'll get to our prediction show in a couple weeks. But the Brewers, they lose their best offensive player, they lose their best reliever, they lost their best pitchers in the rotation last year, and yet they're still great. And they lost their manager, and yet they still dominate somehow. So, yeah, I'm curious how the math worked for Pagoda and the Cubs this year, but I guess we'll see. That's part of the fun.
Yeah.
Word Hole Media.